Hey there, Michael here. I'm here to demo for you my CLI application. This is my first project for my Flatiron Software Engineering Bootcamp, and it is called dnd-companion. It is completely public, located at my GitHub, mcopshow/dnd-companion. And the goal here is to be a nice little resource for more novice DMs. So we're talking like folks who have maybe DM'd a handful of times but haven't committed all of the rule set to memory. And instead of thumbing through a book or the player's handbook or like an expansion handbook or something, they could use this application to access information that would otherwise disrupt the flow of play in order to look up. So if we go down to the README in this repository, we can see that there's a couple of simple instructions. So in order to get started, we'll clone this repository, we'll navigate to this directory, then we'll run bundle install to get our gems in place. Then we will start the companion app by running this executable file. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go over to my iTerm, and I'm using iTerm here. You can use terminal, IDE, whatever your preference is. I'm going to git clone this repository. So we have it. Let's go into that directory real quick. And we will get our gems. Not many gems here. Pretty simple, which is good. Then we'll run our executable. Boom, there's your title card. And as it says, dnd-companion for novice DMs who haven't memorized anything and hate disrupting the flow of play to look things up. So this is me. And if this is you, feel free to use this. And as you can see in this menu here, we have a few things we could do. We could look at spells. We can look at equipment. We can look at conditions. We can look at monsters. And then we also have a character generator here. So let's go ahead and let's look at spells. So we press 1, enter. A fine choice, traveler. I know some arcana about 319 spells because I got double degrees in magic school. So this is a very smart companion app. It's loading right now. So what it's doing under the hood is it's crawling through 319 endpoints of it, 319 API endpoints, and then instantiating an object for each of those endpoints. The silver lining though is that once it's done loading, it's very snappy because everything's in memory now. So all of the stuff we'll do in this menu is pretty snappy. For example, if we just want the full list of spells, we could press 1, enter, and then instantly we get the whole list of 319 spells listed in alphabetical order. What's more useful though is the menu item number 2 there, which is information by spell name. So if we press 2 and enter, and then if we look up a spell, let's say Tiny Hut. Tiny Hut's a favorite of mine just because it sounds really funny, but it's also exactly what it is. I'm going to cast Tiny Hut, and then boom, Tiny Hut. So we'll press enter here, and then we get all of the information about the spell, right? So we get its level here, we get its material. So this is good if you want to verify that your PCs or NPCs have the material to actually cast this. Similarly, the components. So if for whatever reason your PCs couldn't speak and couldn't gesticulate, they couldn't satisfy the verbal and somatic component of the spell and couldn't cast it. The casting time, which is good for combat timing. Duration, 8 hours. It's an 8-hour hut. The classes that could use this spell or take this spell, and the magic school belongs to. And then obviously the description, which will tell you what it actually does. So that's cool. But then another thing that I found that would be useful as a DM is listing by class and level. So for menu item number 3, we'll press 3, enter. If we want to say, look at all of the spells that a bard could take, we'll type in bard here. And then we'll look at their level 3 spells. And boom, so you have your level 3 spells there. And this will kick us back to the original spells menu. So now we can actually look up a spell by name. So I really want to know what the Bard spell fear does. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in fear right here, and that'll give me all the information about that spell. So that's basically it, just a very quick reference to all your spells. I'm going to bounce back to the main menu by clicking 4 here, and then I'm going to go to equipment. So similar to spells, this will tell us how many items it knows about, and then it will load all of those items via crawling through the API, going to each of those endpoints and instantiating an object. All right, so again, we can view the full list. So we have everything here listed alphabetically. And let's say, let's do, again, like with spells, what's more useful, I think, here is to search by name. So what I'm going to do is search by name. Pragmatic, please provide the name of the item, and I will tell you all that I know. I want to see a halberd. Type that in. All right, and as you can see, there's a little tableau that's generated here with all the information about this weapon. So the category is a weapon, obviously. The category range is martial melee. So melee is your range. It needs to be within 5 feet. And then martial is a type of weapon. Some classes can use martial weapons out of the box. Other classes are going to need a feat or something to be able to use martial weapons. Then you have your damage, 1d10 slashing damage. Then you have your range, again, that's melee. Your weight is 6 pounds. Cost is 20 gold pieces. And then you have properties. So if you haven't played D&D before, what properties are other attributes that your weapon can have. So for example, reach gives a halberd, or the halberd has reach, and therefore it could reach 5 more feet. So you effectively have 10 feet for the purposes of 10 feet of range for the purposes of combat. Similarly, two-handed will take up 2 hands, so you can't wield 2 halberds. Then we have search by category. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there's 5 categories to choose from. It'll prompt you for whatever category you want. I want to look at armor now. And I want to look at plate. So armor has different stats here, but what's most important is the armor class. And for those of you who haven't played D&D, armor class, or AC as it's known, is the level, or is the number that you have to either hit or get above in order for you to hit the person who has that AC, right? So if a goblin were to roll like, an 11 and you were wearing plate, that goblin can't hit you because an 11 doesn't beat an 18. It also has a weight and then the cost. So that's it for equipment. Let's bounce back to the main menu and let's look at conditions. So conditions are something that I kind of get confused about every once in a while. I'll forget what it means to be grappled. I'll forget what it means to be incapacitated. I know the textbook definitions of these words, but I don't know what those things translate to mechanically in D&D. So what we could do is view the full list here. So it gives you a very quick rundown of all the conditions available. And then if I wanted to get information by name, again, I could do that. So in this case, I will look at what it means to be grappled. And so if there are multiple bullet points in this tableau, it'll display them on a different line. Grappled creature's speed becomes 0 and it can't benefit from any bonus to its speed. And then the condition ends if the grappler is incapacitated. And then it says, see the condition. So let's go ahead and do that because I forget what that means. Oops, I misspelled that. Just go ahead and copy and paste it. All right, easy. An incapacitated creature can't take actions or reactions. So there you go. That's pretty much it for conditions. Really short and sweet, but a super useful reference, you know, especially during combat where you kind of want things to be pretty synchronous and fast. This is a really quick way to check a condition. So I'm going to bounce back to the main menu again, and then we're going to look at monsters now. So we'll type in 4 here, enter. A fine choice, traveler. I know about 322 monsters. And again, we're loading them up so that we can look at them. All right, so we have all of our monsters instantiated. So now we can look at the full list. And again, it's an alphabetical list. And it gives us all of the monsters that we have available to us. And so again, we can search by name, which is what we're gonna do. Please provide the name of the monster, and I will tell you all that I know. So I'm gonna look at a Bugbear, because those are fun. And there you go. So it gives you everything it knows about the Bugbear. We have the name of the creature, we have the size of the creature, how fast it is, what its armor class is, which is important for the purposes of rolling to hit, and then hit points, which is important for the purposes of rolling to deal damage. And then there's also this challenge rating here, which we'll talk about shortly. There's also actions. So this is kind of the meat of it. They'll show you what this monster is equipped with, if it's equipped with a weapon, and then what type of attack it does, and then all of the rules that it has. So +4 to hit, its reach, how many targets, how much damage it does. And then it also has a special ability. A melee weapon deals 1 extra die of its damage when the Bugbear hits with it. So that's pretty cool. And then reactions and legendary abilities would go down here if the Bugbear had any. So we can actually now talk about challenge rating with this third option here. So if I type in 3 here, a fine choice, traveler, give me your desired CR rating, which goes from 0.00 to 30. And what a challenge rating is, for those of you who haven't played, is that it's an indicator of that monster's difficulty, right? So a Bugbear that has a challenge rating of 1 should be able to put up a good fight against 4 PCs that have the same level. So in this case, 4 PCs that are all level 1. And so because of that, D&D can also does fractional CR ratings. So we can look at, say, monsters that have a CR rating of 0.25. And then we have all of our monsters that have a CR rating of 0.25. So say, for whatever reason, your PCs have beaten everything you've thrown against them. To sort of like improvise, you can come into here, use this, and say, generate 4 goblins to try to fight them and put up a good fight, right? Similarly, like you could look at any challenge rating up to 30, which is the maximum challenge rating, as far as I know, in the D&D world. So in this case, we could say like a challenge rating of 10. And those are some pretty strong monsters. Obviously, the list is shorter, right? But say, you know, if we wanted to look at the Aboleth, there's a lot more stuff here, right? Because of its challenge rating, because of how difficult it is, it's going to have many actions relative to a monster with a smaller CR rating. It's going to have more special abilities likely. It might have a reaction or 2 down here, and then it'll have legendary abilities as well. So that was that's pretty cool. I like having this option available to me for sure. I think this would be really good for like DMs who like to improvise a little bit and then just generate monsters. So that's pretty much it. For the future, I would like to turn this character generator. This is kind of like a half-baked feature right now. I would like to maybe turn this into an NPC generator to maybe like help DMs improvise NPC. But other than that, please clone this, fork this, clone this, use this, give me feedback. Also, if you want to contribute, that would be super cool. And thanks for watching.